The subway platform was nearly empty at 11 p.m. when a man in a baseball cap and oversized sunglasses heard something that made him freeze mid-step. The haunting melody of Billie Jean echoed through the underground tunnel, but it wasn't coming from speakers. Someone was playing it live, and they were playing it beautifully. The man moved closer, his heart pounding, because he recognized something in that music that nobody else could. Raw, unfiltered genius hiding in the darkness. What happened next became one of the most powerful moments in music history. And it started with a homeless teenager who had no idea he was about to meet his idol. But getting to this moment almost didn't happen. And what the world didn't know was that Michael Jackson had nearly been caught. 30 minutes earlier, Michael had slipped out of the Four Seasons Hotel through a service entrance, disguised in simple clothes that made him look like any other tired traveler. But as he walked past the lobby, a security guard did a double take. "Hey, you look like—" Michael quickly pulled his cap lower and picked up his pace, disappearing around a corner before the guard could finish his sentence. His heart raced. This was dangerous. His security team would kill him if they knew. But Michael needed this, needed to feel human again, needed to walk among regular people without the distortion of his fame. At the subway turnstile, an elderly woman stared at him too long. "I know you from somewhere." Michael smiled beneath his mask and moved quickly through the turnstile, descending into the underground world he'd never experienced. Every step felt like freedom and risk braided together. And then he heard it, his own song, transformed into something he almost didn't recognize. And that's when everything changed. It was March 23rd, 1997, and the Red Line subway station at Clark and Division in Chicago was mostly deserted. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting harsh shadows on tile walls covered in graffiti and years of grime. Michael followed the sound of the accordion, his body instinctively moving to the rhythm. And then he saw him, sitting on cardboard against the dirty wall, a young man who couldn't have been more than 17, playing Billie Jean with such raw emotion that Michael felt it like a physical blow. But then Michael noticed something that made his breath catch. The boy's fingers were bleeding. Small drops of blood smeared across the accordion keys as he played, but he didn't stop, didn't even seem to notice. He was so lost in the music that physical pain had become irrelevant. This wasn't just performance. This was survival. Michael stood frozen, watching as the few commuters walked past without stopping, maybe dropping a quarter without even looking at the kid's face. But Michael couldn't move. He was witnessing something sacred, genius crying out to be seen, bleeding for the chance to be heard. When the boy finally finished and opened his eyes, he looked exhausted and defeated. He stared at the handful of coins in his battered accordion case, then at his bleeding fingers, and something in his expression broke Michael's heart completely. Michael approached slowly. "That was beautiful," he said quietly, his voice slightly muffled by his mask. The teenager looked up, his eyes wary and tired. "Thanks," he mumbled, starting to pack up his accordion with trembling, bloodied hands. "Wait," Michael said, urgency in his voice. "Your fingers are bleeding." The boy glanced down at his hands, as if noticing for the first time. "Yeah, the keys are sharp where they're broken. But it's okay. I need to play." "What's your name?" Michael asked, sitting down on the platform beside him, ignoring the grime. "Marcus. Marcus Washington." "How long have you been out here, Marcus?" And then Marcus said 3 sentences that would haunt Michael for the rest of his life. "My mom died 4 years ago. Been living in the subway ever since." He gestured to his worn accordion. "This is my only family now." Michael felt something crack open in his chest. "What keeps you going?" "Music," Marcus said simply. "Especially yours. Your songs kept me alive when I wanted to die." The raw honesty of it hit Michael like a punch. This teenager, bleeding and starving and sleeping on cardboard, had found more meaning in his music than millions of comfortable fans ever would. "Marcus," Michael said carefully, "do you know any other Michael Jackson songs?" Marcus's face transformed, a flash of pure joy breaking through his hardened exterior. "I know all of them. Michael Jackson is the reason I'm still breathing." Michael's hands trembled as he reached for his sunglasses. This moment felt bigger than him, bigger than his fear of being recognized. This was why he made music. Not for the awards or the screaming crowds. For this. For souls like Marcus who needed to know they weren't alone. Marcus, what would you do if you could do anything? The teenager laughed bitterly. Besides not be homeless, I make music. Real music. Go to school, learn composition, maybe help other kids like me someday. But that's fantasy. Nobody sees people like me. What if I told you I see you? Michael said, slowly removing his sunglasses, then pulling down his surgical mask. For 3 long seconds, Marcus just stared. Then his eyes went impossibly wide, his mouth falling open in shock. The accordion nearly slipped from his grip. No, Marcus whispered, his voice breaking. This isn't. You're not. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I'm hallucinating. You're not hallucinating, Marcus, Michael said gently. I'm real, and I just watched you play my music with more soul than I've ever heard. You bled for it. You survived with it. And now I'm going to help you thrive with it. Marcus started shaking, then crying deep, wrenching sobs that seemed to release years of pain. Michael pulled the teenager into a hug right there on that filthy subway platform, holding him while he shattered and finally let himself be seen. But what happened next would shock them both. As Michael held the crying teenager, a subway train roared into the station. The doors opened, and suddenly more people flooded onto the platform. Someone recognized Michael despite his minimal disguise. Oh my God, that's Michael Jackson. Within seconds, more people were pulling out cameras. Michael's security nightmare was coming true, but he didn't let go of Marcus. He held the boy tighter, making a choice in that moment about what mattered more, his privacy or this kid's life. Marcus, Michael said urgently, I need you to trust me. We're about to have company, but I promise you, nothing changes. Everything I'm about to tell you is real. And then Michael stood, keeping one arm around Marcus's shoulders, and addressed the growing crowd. This is Marcus Washington, Michael announced, his voice carrying over the shocked whispers. He's been living on this platform, and he plays my music better than I've ever heard it played. And tonight his life changes. The crowd erupted, but it wasn't the chaos Michael expected. People started clapping. Someone shouted, We believe in you, Marcus. Others pulled out cash, stuffing bills into Marcus's accordion case. The subway platform transformed from a place of invisibility into a stage of recognition. Play with me, Marcus, Michael said. Right here, right now. Show them what you showed me. Marcus was terrified, shaking, but he opened his accordion. I can't. Yes, you can, Michael said firmly. You're not playing for them. You're playing for your mom. Show her what you've become. And Marcus did. With tears streaming down his face and blood still on his fingers, he began playing Human Nature while Michael sang. The growing crowd fell silent, then joined in, and suddenly that dirty subway platform became a cathedral. A transit police officer arrived, ready to break up the gathering, but he stopped when he heard the music. He stood at the edge of the crowd, wiping his eyes, letting the moment exist. Within an hour, over 100 people had crowded into that station. Someone was filming. Word was spreading through Chicago. Michael Jackson was performing in a subway station. But this wasn't about Michael. This was about Marcus, and everyone present understood they were witnessing something sacred. Michael's security team finally arrived, frantic and furious. But when they saw their client creating magic with a homeless teenager, they stood back and became guardians of the moment rather than destroyers of it. That night, Michael took Marcus to his hotel suite. Marcus ate like someone starving because Michael's team was dispatched to handle everything: clothes, toiletries, medical care for those bleeding fingers, and most importantly, a plan. Why are you doing this? Marcus asked as the sun began rising over Chicago. Michael was quiet for a moment, then said something he'd never told anyone. I was invisible once too, Michael said softly. Not homeless, but invisible in other ways. Controlled, used, never seen for who I really was, just what I could do for others. Maybe that's why I saw you so clearly, Marcus. We recognize in others what we've survived ourselves. Over the next 13 days, not 2 weeks, but 13 intense, transformative days, Michael didn't just throw money at Marcus's problems. He invested himself. Private tutors for Marcus's GED, medical care for untreated health issues, therapy for trauma, housing in a clean, safe apartment. And every single day, Michael himself worked with Marcus on music, not just the performance, but understanding his gift, refining his raw talent, building his shattered confidence. But Michael also prepared Marcus for the reality of what was coming. In 13 days, you're performing with me at the United Center in front of 20,000 people. You're going to be terrified. You might want to run. And that's okay, because I'm going to be right there with you. What if I freeze? Marcus asked during one of their practice sessions. Then we'll be frozen together, Michael said simply. But Marcus, you played bleeding fingers for spare change. You played for your survival. This is just playing for your future. But on the night of April 6th, 1997, as Marcus stood backstage at the United Center, all of Michael's preparation seemed to evaporate. Marcus was hyperventilating, his hands shaking so badly he couldn't hold his accordion steady. I can't do this, Marcus gasped, panic attack in full force. There are 20,000 people out there. I sleep on subway platforms. I'm nobody. They're going to laugh at me. Michael knelt down to Marcus's eye level. Listen to me. In 13 days, you went from invisible to unforgettable. Not because of me, because of your courage. Those 20,000 people aren't here to judge you. They're here to witness your emergence. And I promise you, I will not let you fall. Marcus tried to lift his accordion, but his hands were shaking so badly that one of the leather straps snapped. The instrument nearly crashed to the floor. Marcus caught it, but the strap dangled uselessly. It's broken, Marcus whispered, devastation in his voice. It's a sign. I can't. Stop, Michael said firmly. He called his assistant over. Duct tape. Now. While his crew scrambled to repair the accordion strap with silver duct tape, Michael held Marcus's face in his hands. That strap breaking wasn't a sign that you can't do this. It was a reminder that even broken things can be fixed and made to work beautifully. You're not broken, Marcus. You're being rebuilt. And broken straps held together with duct tape? That's the most honest thing that's ever been on my stage. When Marcus walked onto that massive United Center stage, accordion strapped on with visible silver duct tape, 20,000 people saw him and went completely silent. Michael addressed the crowd first. 13 days ago, I was in disguise on a subway platform when I heard the most beautiful music I'd ever encountered. The man playing it was homeless, bleeding from his fingers, surviving on music alone. Tonight, Marcus Washington is here not because I rescued him, but because he reminded me what music is supposed to be: raw, honest, and necessary. Michael turned to Marcus. Show them what you showed me. Marcus stood frozen, staring out at the sea of faces. Then he looked down at the duct tape, holding his accordion together, and something shifted in him. His mother had taught him on a pawn shop instrument. He'd survived with broken equipment his whole life. This duct tape wasn't shame, it was his story. Marcus began playing Human Nature, and his arrangement was so haunting, so filled with authentic pain and hope intertwined, that 20,000 people forgot they were at a concert. They were witnessing testimony. The sound of survival transforming into triumph. Michael sang, but he let Marcus lead. Let the teenager's accordion tell the story his voice couldn't yet express. And when they finished, the standing ovation lasted 11 minutes. People were sobbing openly. Even the hardened security guards had tears streaming down their faces. But Marcus did something unexpected. He approached the microphone, his voice shaking but clear. 13 days ago, I was bleeding on a subway platform, Marcus said. Michael could have walked past like everyone else. But he stopped. He saw me. And if he can see one invisible kid in a subway station, then maybe we can all start seeing each other. Look around your life. Who are you walking past? The arena erupted, but this time it wasn't just applause. It was understanding. Marcus had turned his moment into a mission. What happened after that night created ripples that extended far beyond one performance or one transformed life. Michael kept every promise. He funded Marcus's education at the Chicago School of Music. He maintained close contact, becoming a mentor and friend. And Marcus flourished, his natural talent combined with training and confidence, creating something extraordinary. But Marcus never forgot where he came from. He established the Subway Symphony Foundation, providing music education, instruments, and support for homeless youth across America. His message was simple. Everyone has worth, everyone has gifts, and sometimes all it takes is one person willing to stop and listen. Michael taught me that the most important performances happen when no one's watching. Marcus told audiences during his foundation work. He was the most famous person in the world, but he sat on a dirty subway platform with me because he heard something worth hearing. That changed everything. Not because he gave me opportunities, but because he showed me I was worth stopping for. Over the years, Marcus performed at several of Michael's concerts, always introduced as the young man who reminded me why I make music. He contributed hauntingly beautiful accordion arrangements to two of Michael's later albums, bringing that subway platform rawness into polished studio recordings. And most importantly, he became part of Michael's chosen family. The subway station at Clark and Division became a pilgrimage site for young musicians. The city installed a plaque, where genius was discovered because someone chose to listen. March 23, 1997. But there's something else at that station that few people know about. Every March 23rd, musicians gather on that platform for a 12-hour marathon performance called Stop and Listen Day. All proceeds go to Marcus's foundation. Thousands of people come through, and some of the world's biggest artists have participated, including several who were once homeless themselves. When Michael Jackson passed away in 2009, Marcus Washington was one of the performers at his memorial service. He played Human Nature on that same accordion, still held together with silver duct tape that he'd never replaced. His reminder that broken things can make the most beautiful music. Michael didn't save my life by giving me money, Marcus said through tears at the memorial. He saved my life by stopping when everyone else walked past, by seeing me when I was invisible, by believing that a bleeding, homeless kid had something worth hearing. He taught me that music isn't about stages or spotlights. It's about the courage to stop and listen when the world tells you to keep walking. Today, Marcus Washington is an acclaimed musician, producer, and advocate. He's worked with major artists, composed film scores, and won awards. But he's never forgotten his origin story, and he's never forgotten the lesson Michael taught him on that subway platform. The Marcus Washington Foundation has helped over 5,000 homeless youth find their way back through music education and support. Each person helped by the foundation receives a card with a quote from Michael Jackson. Genius exists everywhere. Sometimes all it takes is someone willing to stop and listen. But here's what makes Marcus's work truly revolutionary. He doesn't just help homeless youth with music education. He takes them back to subway stations and street corners, but this time with support, equipment, and dignity. He teaches them that their stories matter, that survival is its own credential, and that the world needs their authentic voices. Don't hide where you came from, Marcus tells the young musicians he mentors. Let your duct tape show. Let your scars show. That's where your power lives, in the honest story of how you survived and what you created from nothing. Every year on March 23rd, Marcus returns to that exact subway platform at Clark and Division. He sits on the same spot where Michael found him, and he plays Billie Jean on accordion for anyone who stops to listen. And every year, without fail, hundreds of people stop, proving that Michael's legacy isn't just the music he made, but the eyes he taught us to open. The story of Michael Jackson and Marcus Washington reminds us that the most important moments in life happen when we break our routines and actually see the people around us. Michael could have stayed safe in his luxury hotel that night. He could have walked past Marcus like everyone else. He could have dropped money in the case and continued on his way, feeling good about his charity. Instead, he stopped. He listened. He saw genius hiding in plain sight, disguised as homelessness and desperation. And by choosing to see Marcus's humanity instead of his circumstances, he didn't just change one life. He ignited a movement that has touched thousands of lives through the foundation Marcus established. Music has the power to heal, but it takes someone with the wisdom to recognize authentic genius, even when it's bleeding on a subway platform for spare change. Michael Jackson didn't discover Marcus Washington that night. Marcus Washington reminded Michael Jackson why his music mattered in the first place. The greatest performances aren't always the ones captured on video or attended by thousands. Sometimes they happen on dirty subway platforms at 11 p.m., witnessed by 5 people who walked past without stopping. Sometimes they happen when a superstar in disguise chooses connection over safety, when he risks being recognized because seeing someone matters more than staying hidden. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, those moments of genuine human connection transform into something bigger than either person could have created alone. They transform into hope, opportunity, and the knowledge that we all have something worth sharing if someone just has the courage to stop and truly hear us. But here's the question Michael Jackson's choice forces us to ask ourselves. Who are we walking past? What genius are we missing because we're too busy, too comfortable, too scared to stop and listen? If this story moved you the way it moved me, I need you to do something important right now. Don't just hit like and scroll away. I want you to think about someone in your life who feels invisible, someone with a gift that's going unrecognized because they don't have the platform to share it. Write their name in the comments below. Tell me about the person you're walking past without seeing. Maybe it's a street musician. Maybe it's your coworker who writes poetry during lunch breaks. Maybe it's your kid who has dreams everyone else calls unrealistic. Share this video with one person, just one, who needs to be reminded that their circumstances don't define their worth, that their dreams matter, that someone sees them. Subscribe for more true stories about the moments when superstars remember that their job isn't to be elevated above others. It's to elevate others. Hit that notification bell and join a community that believes in stopping, listening, and seeing the genius hiding in plain sight all around us. And here's your mission, if you choose to accept it. This week, I want you to stop for one person everyone else is walking past. Buy coffee for the person everyone ignores. Listen to the musician no one else stops for. Ask the quiet person what they're passionate about. Be someone's Michael Jackson moment. Then come back and tell me what happened. Let's create a wave of people who choose to see instead of walk past. Don't just watch this video. Participate in the movement it represents. Who will you stop for? Tell me in the comments. Let's honor them together.